Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel, welcome to another GT Sport Daily Race C Strategy Guide. This week, it's week 44, we're heading to Suzuka circuit in Japan and we're in the Group 1 machinery. So I think, as far as I'm aware, this is a fresh combo. I don't ever remember driving Group 1 cars around this circuit. Given how difficult they seem to be to get around here, I think I would remember if I had driven them around here. But the detailed settings for this one are 10 laps. We've got tyre wear at times 7, fuel at times 2, got the soft and the medium tyres available. Going to assume that both of them will be mandatory. BOP is on, damage is off, it's a rolling start and slipstream is real. So yeah, as I said, fresh combo as far as I'm aware. Definitely don't remember this ever being a daily race C. And yeah, this circuit and this car combination, it seems very difficult, especially if you drive in cockpit view. So for the Group 1 cars, I tend to actually jump into the kind of hood or bonnet cam here. So that's what we're going to do. The visibility within the LMP ones in Group 1 is just extreme hardcore mode, if you like. It's so difficult to see where you're going. We'll maybe sort of kind of try and get the top of it for maybe doing the live streams later on in the week. But for the video, we are going to be in this view. The test car we are in is the Porsche 919 Hybrid. We'll discuss cars a little bit later on, but it does appear to me that the hybrid cars are the best cars for the combination, despite the fact there's only really 2 parts on the track where that hybrid really comes into full force. Coming out the hairpin, that we're just approaching it, and of course coming out of the chicane. But let's move on to the strategy. Now this was a very difficult video for me to make. I was really struggling to get these cars around this track, so I think I've managed to gather all the information that we need to get, but we're going to look at the soft and the medium strategy first. Starting on the soft tyres, how many laps can we get out of them? My target lap time with the crossover lap time was a 1 minute 43. I knew once I kind of crossed into the 143 territory, we should be moving on to those medium tyres, as we would be in better shape with the fresh mediums compared to the Warrant softs. So a sneaky little transition there to lap number 6. You can see from laps 2 to 5 we've managed to keep it under that 143 bracket, but we're going to be sort of well into the 43s here as we come to the end of lap 6, as we can see from the delta. So definitely time to come into the pits. You can see from the tyre wear on the bottom left hand corner there, fairly severe despite the fact it's only times 7 tyre wear, but Suzuka is a very hard circuit on tyres overall generally. Or certainly that has been my experience over the years. Into the pit box we come in our Porsche 919 Hybrid team. I've got a Mazda 787B, looks like a kind of homage to that livery on our car. But pit loss is around about 18 seconds. Fuel is no issue whatsoever. I haven't worked out the pit loss exactly to my error here, as we kind of at this part of the video as I'm doing the commentary, but I will have the exact pit stop loss a little bit later on in the video when we put all the information up on the screen. It is round about 18 seconds though, going from the lap times on the right hand side. So how is our medium tyres holding up? I said the sort of crossover lap time was a 1 minute 43, and we're round about there with our medium tyre pace. We're certainly not setting the world on fire. We should probably be into the 42s at this point, but a 43 to a 43.0, I think we finished with a 43.2 as well. By this point, as I said, I was having quite a lot of trouble getting this car around the track for a kind of representative run, and you're going to see that on the next run when we do the medium soft run, just how many problems I was running into. So we were not pushing particularly hard here in the medium tyres. I just wanted to get the run over and not bin the car, as these Group 1 cars, these hybrid cars, seem to be very difficult to get around this track. So as I said, a 43.2 to finish. Finishing time is going to come up. A fairly short race for Daily Race C, 17 minutes at 28.9. With a lot more of the races have been closer to that 20 minute mark, but a fairly short one here. Definitely scope there or potential for an additional lap, in my eyes anyway. So as I said, moving on to the medium soft strategy, we're going immediately on to lap number 10. We actually pitted here at the end of lap number 3, so we're going to attempt to do 7 laps on those soft tyres. So we managed 6 laps on the full fuel load. So generally what you tend to find, if you kind of use the harder tyre, then move on to the softer compound for the second part of the race, with a little bit of fuel burned off, the car's a little bit lighter, your tyre wear should be a bit more manageable. However, that hasn't really proven to be the case here. I don't know if we kind of went a little bit too hard on the tyres initially. We did set up our fastest lap on lap number 5 there, obviously our first flying lap on the soft tyres, as you would expect, but the lap times dropped off dramatically after that. We actually made a mistake into turn 1 on lap number 8, just running wide, which cost us around about 4 seconds. You can see we're struggling to get the car into the hairpin here on lap number 10. This is our 7th lap on the soft tyres. You can see the tyre wear in the bottom left hand corner as well. It's looking quite severe. So I am not convinced that lap 3 is the optimal lap to pit for the mediums. I reckon you should maybe go on to lap number 4. So a 4-6 split medium soft looks to me like it will be more optimal than the kind of the 3-7 that we are doing here. But obviously if you're looking for that undercut, the sort of earlier that you pit is going to be more beneficial to getting that undercut, making up some positions on the track, and then maybe using that dirty air to keep the other cars behind you. As you can see, we continue to run into trouble there, running wide on 130R. Now 130R is full throttle, but it is easy to get it wrong as well if you don't quite have the line. But not a great run here for our medium soft strategy, but to be honest with you, by this point I was not willing to go again. I was having so much trouble just getting an actual 10 lap run in without making a mistake that the frustration had fully set in by the time we'd done that run, and I was not going to go again. But I think there's enough there to demonstrate what we are trying to demonstrate for the video. So moving on to cars, let's talk about some other cars as we join our R18 here for a lap. Now I did have some footage of the other cars there mentioned underneath, however for whatever reason it never saved, so as I said, wasn't really willing to go again, but we shall discuss each car here as we go through it. Now, Audi R18 looks like it's going to be the qualifying car for me, but not the race car. So this lap we're doing here is our 3rd lap on the soft tyres. Now, if you watch the lap throughout, you'll see it's not a terrible lap, but wait till you see the lap time at the end. And it's because the Audi R18 runs out of hybrid. So there's not a massive amount of parts on the track where you need the hybrid. Well, that's initially what I thought anyway, but it turns out maybe you do need it a little bit more. Now the Audi R18 does burn the hybrid out in 4th gear quite a lot, and obviously you do have to spend quite a lot of time in 4th gear around this track with it being a power circuit. But yeah, the Audi R18 just runs out of hybrid. Now the better players out there will be able to manage that hybrid and keep it alive, and then possibly make this a more viable race car. But for me, the hybrid cars seem to dominate. If you're going to be most players are going to be more comfortable in the Porsche and the Toyota where they don't need to worry about that hybrid. This circuit is tricky enough without worrying to try and keep the hybrid alive like you need to in the Audi R18. I did test some other cars. We tried the Peugeot 908 and I tried the Audi R11, but they're not a million miles away from the pace of the hybrids, but they are giving up around about half a second to 3/4 of a second a lap in my hands anyway. So therefore, I think it's a hybrid dominated track car combination. For most people, race car wise, the Toyota and the Porsche are going to be more comfortable than the Audi R18, but it will be the qualifying car because it does appear to be the quickest car over 1 lap. And yes, to finish off the kind of car footage before we move on to just talking about some other things, I'm just showing you some of the mistakes that we were running into. Running wide at 130R, running wide into the chicane, the turn number 1 here getting us a few times as well. We had a bit of a torrid time making this one, I am not ashamed to say, and I think you're going to see a lot of cars going off the track in this one. It's a very, very difficult car and track combination, and I was quite surprised by that. I was kind of looking forward to driving these cars around this circuit, but my experience today making this video certainly changed my mind a little bit. I'm thinking this one is going to be a bit of a sore week if I'm perfectly honest with you. Anyway, with all that said, hopefully there's been some useful stuff in there to get you kind of started. We're at that part of the video now where we just kind of reiterate all the information we've just spoken about, and I'll give you my pros and cons and how I think each of these strategies are going to work out. So we've got the soft and the medium tyres available. Both of them should be mandatory. If by any crazy reason they are not both mandatory, then this obviously just becomes a no stop on the mediums because of the pit loss being around about that 18-second mark. you're just not going to make that up. Now, your tyres will be shredded by the end of the race, even if you're doing a no stop on the mediums, but there'll just be no point going into the pits. You'll just not make that time back up. However, it's 99.9% sure that both tyres will be mandatory, so your strategy options are to start on the soft and finish on the mediums. From my experience, soft tyres seem to last around about 6 laps at best before fresh mediums become quicker. For some people out there who are bad on tyre wear, that'll be a 5-5 split, I think. If you're a bit better on tyre wear, you should be able to get 6 laps. If you're some kind of god on saving tyres, maybe even 7 laps, but I think that's going to be very few and far between. Players out there who are going to be able to make that strategy work best for them. Obviously, this strategy best used if you're starting near the front, so you can use those soft tyres, not get caught up in traffic and dirty air. For the majority of the grid, you're going to be looking at the medium soft strategy. It looks like you're going to have to do around about 3 laps minimum on the mediums, as softs don't last much longer even with the fuel burned off. So 3 mediums, 7 softs for a lot of people. If you're bad on tyre wear, you might want to do that 4th lap on the mediums, then 7 laps on the soft tyres. But on this strategy, you are tend to be looking for an undercut and then holding on at the end, so if you can pit a little bit earlier, it should benefit you in the race, particularly with cars being stuck behind you in dirty air. Even if your tyres are a little bit worn, they will have a little bit of trouble getting by you. Some people out there will pit earlier than lap 3. You'll see people pitting on lap 1 and lap 2, just going for that massive undercut, but they're going to be in big trouble with their tyres at the end. But if you've got an inherent speed advantage over the other players on the grid, then you can maybe make that strategy work. As we discussed, I think the qualifying car will be the R18, but for race car, for most people were more comfortable in the Porsche and the Toyota, just because to keep that hybrid alive. And this tricky, as I said, is tricky enough to keep the car on the track without worrying about other things, about kind of riding the brake into the corners to try and build up that hybrid. Anyway, let's join the Porsche 919 hybrid on a lap guide of Suzuka. Into the first corner we come now. It's the curb on the right hand side as you actually turn into the corner, where you want to be kind of looking to start trail braking gradually into turn number 1. You got to be brave into turn number 1 if you want to get the lap time. As we come through the S's, you don't really need to use the brake except for this corner here, but it's just a case of getting the best line, using all the momentum you can get, and hopefully if you can get the line right for Dunlop curve here, you should be full throttle down towards the Degners. 50 metre board on the left, tap of the brakes, throw in, don't run wide, end of the curb for Degner number 2, don't run wide, it's easy to hit that sand and the wall. Braking a little bit earlier than you might expect for the hairpin than you would do in a sort of group 2 or group 3 car, just so you can get the car into the apex. These hybrid LMP ones are very clumsy around the hairpin there, and then we've got the drag down towards Spoon. So your usual braking point is the path on the right hand side, and that works just fine for the Group 1 cars as well. Don't run wide, easy to get sucked off wide and into the boonies there. Just keeping as much momentum as you can as you come out the second part of Spoon. We've got the long run down towards 130R. Full throttle in these LMP1 cars, but do be careful with the line. If you get the line slightly wrong, you can run wide. And down towards the chicane, it's usually the 100 metre board you're looking for, but you want to be braking maybe about 125 metres. It's very easy to brake too late into the chicane here. These cars are carrying a lot more speed down towards the chicane than a Group 2 or a Group, well, maybe not so much a Group 2, but certainly a Group 3, Group 4 car. So you do have to brake that little bit early. But that is the end of the video. That's been quite the commentary I've done there. I've done this all in one take. We don't normally do that. Anyway, hopefully the video has been useful. If it has been, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Join me later on in the week. We'll try and do some live streams in this one. We'll maybe even venture into cockpit view and make the game as hard as we possibly can for ourselves. But as I said, hopefully it's been useful. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button, and I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye now.